Hey guys, Jim here. Here's a name we have not seen on my channel in quite a long time. As a matter of fact, it's been years, probably closer to 4, maybe even 5 years at this point. Andre de Villiers, and something else that makes this very different. This is the smallest knife I do believe that I have showcased, and the only slip joint, because I am not a slip joint kind of guy. I'm not a traditional or classic knife kind of guy, but there's something about the way Andre has made his smaller knives, his lockbacks, and his slip joints that have really attracted me, and this is absolutely one of them. What he's done is he's taken that traditional, classic style of knife, a slip joint, and made it pseudo-tactical. Not saying that the knife style itself is a tactical knife, but the fact that he's taken a design from his tactical lineup and shrunken it down, taken that same Wharncliffe, taken that same noticeable groove, that great fuller, and putting it into a small, tiny little slip joint really changed my mind about slip joints in general. Now, this isn't to say that I'm going to go out and start buying a whole bunch of slip joints and things like that, and Lanny's clips, and they're all great. They're really cool, and I understand the attraction for a lot of people, especially the multi-blade knives. It's just not me. I'm not someone who carries a knife down inside of my pocket. I like it clipped into the pocket where it's not just, bouncing around and stuff like that. But I realize that the vast majority of the world of collectors out there and users are not like me. They're not buying tactical style knives. They're not buying flippers, even though that is the hot ticket right now. You have to look at the world as a whole, and there's nothing more traditional than a tiny little slip joint flapping around in somebody's pocket. Your grandpa carried a slip joint, or he carried a multi-blade, or he carried something in this vein. And now we're starting to see companies and individual custom knife makers like Andre doing really cool things to take a traditional concept and modernize it. And that's precisely what we're seeing here. Now let's talk about the specs, then we'll get into my opinions of the knife and the individual materials that are being used here. First off, these are in this configuration with the lightning strike carbon fiber and the laser engraved bolsters, and I believe this one's M390. I need to take a quick look here. Will it show up on the camera? Yeah, probably not. No, this is N690. So between the materials that are being used, this one was $300. There are other variations that don't have as much work done in them or slightly less expensive materials that are around $250, and you could find them at Knife Center and Blade HQ and a few of the other big knife dealers online. So yeah, it is pricey. It's pricey for such a small knife, but when you get into custom-made gentleman's knives like this, that is not expensive at all. And I have seen legends that have made their slip joints and whatnot in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. It absolutely does happen. But for somebody that's stepping over from tactical knives, they go, well, I'm used to getting a certain type of knife and certain materials and whatnot for the money that I'm spending, and I just don't see it in this tiny little package. You got to realize the smaller you make anything, the more challenging it becomes and the more expensive it can actually be. And speaking of small, the overall length is about 5 inches. The whole thing, boom, very, very small. The blade, 2.125 inches overall, and a little bit less for the actual cutting edge from the sharpening notch to the tip. So it is very tiny, very compact. You've seen it folded up in my hand. Let's give you an idea of what the size is like compared to normal EDC knives that I would carry. Here's another, here's a fellow South African right here. Kind of lay that next to it, and we'll put it next to my skiff, and then we'll throw a Norseman into the mix. So let's get all these. Why, nothing wants to sit flat, everything's contoured. So there's an idea of the closed sizes, how they're going to kind of match up. Now again, these are pocket knives, but they're meant to be clipped and hanging inside the pocket, not sitting down inside. That's where, you know, the slip joint is going to be much different. Let's give you some open size comparisons. I love the Arucus Blamaris. I've had this now for a few years, and it's still one of my absolute favorite daily carry knives. So there again, you see there's a dramatic size difference between what I would typically carry, is I like to stay generally between 3.5 and 4 inches. I have exceptions where I have knives that are much bigger blades, and I have some that are a little bit smaller, but I really don't ever go down to a 2-inch blade. It's just not my style. However, this is a different kind of knife. It's not, you know, made for hardcore heavy-duty cutting. It's not made for any type of secondary self-defense weapon, anything like that. This is what you've got with you at all times. It doesn't matter how you're dressed, where you're going, what the activity is, how restrictive the environment may be. And I'll tell you that, I'll explain that here in a second. This knife has pretty much no restrictions on that. You know, it's under 2 ounces, about 1.5 ounces in weight. There's a slip joint or a lockback option. So you've got a couple different ways you can go about it. And the reason why this is not very restrictive, number one, it has so little size and weight to it. You can wear it with a pair of shorts, you can wear it in a pair of jeans, a pair of dress pants. It's never going to be cumbersome like maybe some of your other larger, heavier, thicker knives could possibly be. Number two, there are areas of the world where you are disallowed from owning any type of locking style of knife. This is not a locking knife. There is no lock involved whatsoever. So I guess they feel that it's harder for you to injure or kill somebody with a knife that doesn't lock. I guess that's their reasoning. I don't truly understand it because I don't live there. I've never really researched it. And I'm sure some of my international followers will be happy to chime in the comments down below. And please do so. And let us know what you think about living in a region where you're not allowed to have a locking knife. Tell us, A, why they may have stated that that law exists, and B, if it frustrates you or not, if it feels like it limits you from the things that you're allowed to own. I'd like to know. So there are very few limitations on this. It's also not really looked upon as a big old scary knife. You know, if you work in an office environment and you go to cut open a package and you whip this out and flip it open super fast, you might freak out, you know, one of your fellow office mates that aren't into knives at all, and they think, oh, big scary weapon. This is about as, I don't know, mild-mannered as you could possibly get. I mean, this is what your scoutmaster is going to have in his pocket. This is probably what your preacher has in his pocket. This style of classic gentleman's knife. So I think that we've all grown up with that. We've all seen it. We've seen men that we have respected, our fathers, our grandfathers, so on and so forth, that have carried a knife like this their entire life. So it just becomes one of those things that you're used to. And I would believe that it's non-offensive to pretty much everyone. It's not a big scary knife. I don't know why I just channeled Jimmy Stewart there, and I do apologize for that. So let's take a look at the construction, the fit and finish, the overall quality. It's a really nice flat ground blade, nice belt satin, very clean, very smooth, very, very, very keen edge. You did a great job putting the edge on these. Nice big sharpening notch, plenty of room in there for you to not run off and screw anything up resharpening. Stainless steel bolsters, very nicely done, by the way, with the laser etching. Gives it, again, a little bit more of a dressy look. And I don't want to say that laser etching is much less expensive than hand etching. It is obviously less, and if you own your own laser, obviously it's a lot easier for you to do, but there's still an expense that goes into it, so that's certainly going to be an option that you're going to pay for. It's beautifully bolstered. The lightning strike carbon fiber is done very, very well. There's no pricklies coming out from the copper wire strands that are inside. Nothing prickly coming out. Beautifully finished. You don't feel, really, there is absolutely nothing as you rub across this and go from the brass bar and the brass pins over into the softer carbon fiber material, lightning strike carbon fiber. You don't feel that. It's completely smooth as if it's one single piece. There is your rear bolster with the lanyard hole. Very cleanly done here with the lock. Nearly seamless there. Let's take a look at it at its half stop. Now, I don't know a lot about slip joints, but I was told the more flush, the most of the lock stays when it's at its half stop, the better, the more engineering has gone into it. I don't know. And then close, we'll take a look. Obviously, everything went back perfectly flush once again. I just think overall he did a beautiful job on these. He did a great job modernizing the classic style of a slip joint and making it into this is modern tactical Wharncliffe, as he's been so well known for so many years. Again, you go back in my channel a long ways, about 5 years ago, and you'll see a few videos that I've done on the ADV butchers, and it was a phenomenal success from the custom to the mid-tech. I couldn't even tell you how many thousands of the mid-tech variations he has sold over the years. It's been wildly successful. And then these came out, and then boom, all of a sudden everybody wanted a slip joint, which is crazy. You know, it really is. There are a lot of guys that went, I have never owned or carried or had an interest in a slip joint in my life, and I got my ADV, and I'm super stoked, and I love it, and I carry it every day. And it's also, you know what, it's converted me. Again, not a full convert. I'm not going to be carrying slip joints really hardly at all. But there have been times I've reached for this and went, you know what, this is going to be perfect in the pocket today. Just throw it in the pocket of my shorts, run out, and it's just fantastic. Now, I've only had this for a few months. I picked it up at the Las Vegas Custom Knife Show from Andre directly at his table, and that was at the end of January. We are now actually it's tax day. It's the middle of April. So I haven't had it for very long. I've only carried it maybe 3 or 4 times, to be perfectly honest with you. That's not to say that that really means anything, because it's not like you were looking for me to do a major field test or something, especially not on a slip joint anyway. This is something that you're going to use to, cut a piece of string dangling off of a shirt. You're going to use it to open up a package or an envelope or something like that. These are for light cutting tasks. I don't even know if you'd be sitting there whittling wood or anything. I mean, are you a big whittler? I don't know. Do you whittle with 2-inch slip joints? I don't know, because I'm not in that world. All I know is I recognize good quality construction. I recognize the quality fit and finish, the great design overall. It was obviously what initially attracted me to it. And it's got a nice feel to it. I mean, yeah, it's a tiny little knife. I love the little notch right there, so your finger just kind of drops in place. I wouldn't go putting, obviously, a lot of stress on the spine because you're going to fold it. It does, you know what, I just don't know how close my finger's going to be right there. But it does have that half stop, so it's a little bit of a safety. So it's not going to collapse directly onto your fingers. It is going to pause right there. I don't know how much I trust that because, again, I haven't put a slip joint to any real use. So there it is. Let me give you some more. There's the view in the hand just to show you how tiny it is. And for the first time, you've got a view of my hand that isn't like this, which makes my hand look long, and it looks like I have short, stubby little fingers. This is the actual size of my hand. And open. So yeah, it's super small, easy to carry, very few restrictions on a knife like this. It's not going to bother your more conservative friends. It's not going to scare anybody. And as far as I know, there isn't a place in the world that a slip joint non-locking knife would be illegal. I don't know, I guess I don't understand all the laws that are, all the things that are happening in the UK right now. Is people are being arrested for kitchen knives, like steak knives and butter knives. At least that's the reports we get here in the US. I don't know how accurate they are. But these are meant to be pretty much world legal. So there you have it. Let's give you this close-ups that I promised a minute ago. Andre de Villiers Mini Pocket Butcher in the slip joint configuration. Again, there is a lockback version of these as well. There's also a slightly larger size, and then there is the much larger lockback version that are available. And basically, I think they go up about a ½ inch in increments on the blade length at a time. So the full size lockback is actually a fairly sizable knife. It's about that size, roughly. So yeah, they do get substantially larger. So if you like a more traditional style knife, then funny enough, you can have that with that more tactical kind of style that Andre is well known for, all in one package. There you have it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.